start things off with Diane. Steve, Diane is a favorite among guy game enthusiasts. She's a Satanist who will be calling on the powers of the Dark Lord to assist her in this competition.
Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we are taking a look at 10 banned video games you can't play. For this list, we'll be looking at those games that are either banned for everyone or select countries and areas. Whether these games were fairly banned or unfairly banned is not important. What's important is that it keeps happening in Australia, and I'm tired of buying video games in alleyways. Did you miss out on any of these? Let us know in the comments below.
Before we continue, we publish content all week long, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified of our latest videos.
Super Seducer 3. Let's start off with a classic Steam ban, Douchebag Simulator. Super Seducer 3. I always get those two confused. This is a real game presented by Richard Laruna, a self-proclaimed pickup artist who, in the game, coaches the player on how to pick up women, often using psychological tricks. With gameplay scenarios showcasing questionable behavior and explicit content, it is no surprise that controversy ensued. The game was banned from Steam for showing sexually explicit images of real people, and even though Richard tried to fight it, he was unable to reverse the decision, leaving his game with no distributor. I'm going to release my own game called Super Seducer Escaper 3, where I coach people on Mortal Kombat style fighting techniques for when a pickup artist tries to approach them.
Harold, you son of a bitch. How you doing, bro?
I'm good.
Manhunt 2. Manhunt 2, the well-known and highly controversial video game developed by Rockstar Games, faced bans in several countries upon its release. The reason it faced bans was because of the game's graphic, violence, and intense gameplay. In 2007, the British Board of Film Classifications refused to grant it a classification, deeming it too brutal for public consumption. Consequently, the game was effectively banned in the UK. Countries like Germany and Ireland also banned Manhunt 2 due to concerns over its extreme violence and potential impact on players. There was another country as well that banned it. Oh yeah, Australia! Whether or not you agree with banning media, the ban stemmed from a desire to protect public welfare and prevent exposure to excessive and realistic depictions of violence. Manhunt 2's ban became a topic of heated debate, and I imagine it will continue into the comments below.
They're after us. There's a price on our head.
My hands!
What's done is done. Come on!
The Guy Game.
We start things off with Diane. Steve, Diane is a favorite among guy game enthusiasts. She's a Satanist who will be calling on the powers of the Dark Lord to assist her in this competition.
2004. When times were simpler, when the boys would gather around their PS2, snap their copies of GTA San Andreas and Kingdom Hearts in half to instead pop in a copy of The Guy Game. In case it isn't clear, nobody did this because this game was gross. The Guy Game was a bog-standard trivia game, but with one additional feature. Much of the game consisted of watching live-action footage of young women in bikinis, and depending on how well you did in the trivia, would decide whether or not they would take their bikinis off. Due to what can only be described as massive and disgusting oversight, one of these women who exposed themselves was a 17-year-old girl, and the company was now in violation of child pornography statutes. The game was forced to stop making additional copies, and in most countries it's not only illegal to sell, but illegal to own. The Pokemon Trading Card Game. Who would have thought the Game Boy Color game, the Pokemon Trading Card game, would be considered a threat to national security? In Saudi Arabia, it was just that. The Saudi Arabian government deemed the game to contain symbols and references that promoted Zionism, the support for establishing land for Jewish people in Palestine. Specifically, it was our beloved little Pikachu and his power symbol that fueled the flame of this uproar. As a result, the Pokemon Trading Card game was prohibited from being sold or played within the country. Damn, Pikachu, you were just trying to be cute. BMX XXX. Welcome to the year 2002, where in Australia, a young boy by the name of Me was denied the opportunity to play as a nude BMX rider. What has the world come to? BMX XXX, an edgy extreme sports video game, faced a ban in Australia due to its nudity. The Australian Classification Board deemed the game's content to be unsuitable for minors and incompatible with the country's classification guidelines. The game was later re-released with the nudity and adult themes removed, meaning that Australia never got to see what everyone else saw, much like the probing scenes in South Park: Stick of Truth. Danganronpa V3 Killing Harmony.
I'm the protagonist of this crazy story.
Danganronpa V3 is a game that follows 16 students who have been kidnapped and trapped inside a school. The game was banned in South Korea after South Korean authorities deemed the game's themes and graphic nature unsuitable for local audiences, especially minors. The game's release came not too long after a teenage girl murdered and mutilated an 8-year-old. This prompted authorities to fear the impact this game would have on inciting copycats. The decision to ban Danganronpa V3 aims to protect public welfare and maintain societal standards regarding the portrayal of violence in media. Postal 2.
It's just as hot as the devil's rectum in here. When did we move to hell?
Postal 2, the controversial first-person shooter, allows players to engage in all kinds of twisted behaviors, from public urination to homophobic and racist acts to animal cruelty and murder. This game had no limits, which seemed to be what it sold itself on. The game was either banned outright or faced restrictions in countries like New Zealand, Australia, Germany, Malaysia, and Sweden. The bans and restrictions on Postal 2 were mainly due to concerns about its explicit content and potential impact on players, reflecting efforts to regulate and limit access to games with excessive violence and controversial themes. Boo! I mean, keep the racism and homophobia out of games, but boo to the rest of it.
He's looking at my favorite Christmas tree, Earl. What do you think we should do, Billy Joe Bob? We gonna do it here? Let's open his Christmas package early, Billy Joe Bob.
Sex Vixens from Space. One of the first games to ever get banned was on the humble Commodore 64, and that game was Sex Vixens from Space. For games back in 1980, it was very uncommon for them to contain graphic nudity, but for Sex Vixens from Space, British legislatives were brought in to decide whether or not this was legal due to the fact that video games were angled towards kids pretty heavily at the time. The crazy part is, the government officially seized the game's shipments and destroyed them. They had decided the game would be damaging to youth, and they acted like a bunch of dweebs about it. EA Sports MMA.
What a fight! Wow! What a fight!
There are a lot of weird reasons for a game to get banned, but EA Sports MMA kinda takes the cake. The game was banned in Denmark, and the reason wasn't the brutal kicks or the fierce punches or the chokes or the fear it would promote violence. No. The game was banned because it featured energy drinks. More specifically, the game featured advertisements for caffeinated energy drinks, which, if you didn't know, is a big no-no in Denmark. Instead of opting for a tweaked version of the game, EA decided to just not sell the game in Denmark, which is unfortunate because game sales were pretty abysmal. Animal Crossing New Horizons. I know, right? How could the adorable and always fun Animal Crossing New Horizons ever be considered for ban status? Well, one of the in-game mechanics allows players to create their own custom patterns, which can be placed in the players' homes or on the clothes of characters around the island. It didn't take long for players to start making funny patterns, ranging from making characters look nude to pop culture references. Unfortunately, it was the more political-themed patterns that mainland China had a problem with, and the game has subsequently been banned since 2020. Damn, that's brutal.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from MojoPlays and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified of our latest videos.